All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Really appreciate you joining us for our webinar about revolutionizing accounts payable with FSM. My name is Ashley Charlton. I will be your moderator for today. So again, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us for this. For the next 45 minutes, we're going to be sharing just a few of the improvements that users can see when they move to FSM, which is the Infor Finance and Supply Chain Management software. From now on, we'll just call it FSM. So whether you're currently on Lawson or another ERP, what we're going to be talking about today and what you can expect when you see all of the different upgrades and enhancements that Infor has put into the FSM AP tools, I think it would be great takeaways for everybody and really help you elevate your business processes. So before we get started, just want to start with some ground rules. This is really meant to be collaborative. So as we move through topics, if you have some questions specific to that, you want to get a little bit more detail, feel free to put any questions inside the chat function. We have Mandy Cavalier with us. She is our solutions director at GForce, and she will be monitoring the chat and making sure that we get those questions answered in real time. And at the end, we will also have a few minutes in there for a Q&A. So again, as you go through, if this triggers things, whether it's in a topic we're discussing or an altogether different topic inside AP, feel free, use that chat function. This really works best when it's a conversation versus a lecture. And then also, no need to commit all of this to memory. After the webinar, we are recording it. We will send out a copy of a link to this webinar today, and then you can go back and look at different areas, or you can share it with people inside your organization if there's some functionality that you think that they might be interested in. So again, you will get a copy of this later today. So with that, I want to introduce our Lawson and FSM accounts payable experts that we're going to be talking to for today's discussion. So first, I would like to introduce Greg Gottland. Greg is managing partner at GForce and has been in the Lawson info world for quite a while, starting as an actual Lawson user while he was controller at Hard Rock Cafe. Greg has built GForce into a practice that really is around supporting Lawson users and FSM users, upgrades, optimizations, just all kinds of support. And so we'll have his expertise today. And then along with Greg, we have Malissa Andrews, who also has been a Lawson user. So again, she now leads our AP implementation team. But because she has been a former user, you know, the insights she has are so valuable because she's literally been in your shoes and she can truly understand the efficiencies and help find those ways that the updates and the different functionality that Infor has put into the FSM model around AP can help impact your business for the better. So I think it'll be a really fun conversation. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it. So I think we want to start around invoicing. So Melissa, let's see. How about invoice entry? And let's see if we can see you or your screen. Hey. There we go. We're working on it. So invoice entry, let's just start off. What are some differences between the Lawson instance and now what you can see in FSM as it relates to invoice entry?
Sure. Let me go ahead and share my screen really quick so that I can. Get this out. Okay. So there are quite a few things that I personally enjoy about the new system here. So there are a couple things that looking at invoices, and I'm just going to focus mainly on invoices here and what I like about the new system. So let me open one up to show. One of the first initial things moving from Lawson and into FSM that I liked was just the screen itself, how user-friendly and easy just going into an invoice and entering just a simple invoice was in here. So just going through and being able to enter the invoice, just the look and feel of FSM to me was a lot more user-friendly. So being able to go ahead and enter invoices and kind of all the additional tabs on here were much easier from a perspective of training, and going in and entering invoices was much easier. So you have your main tab, which is now your invoice header. Distributions obviously live on your distribution tab. In the Lawson world, you would have only 5 distributions and you'd have to tab down. You don't no longer have that in the new world. So you can see everything right here on one screen, along with your payment information, which again, in Lawson, that lived in a different screen, and you kind of have to kind of go back and forth. So now everything in the new system, everything lives on your invoice. So you can go to your invoice and you can kind of track everything. Another thing is invoice approvals. So if you do have invoice approvals here, there is another tab that lives on your invoice as well. And you can just simply click on invoice approvals and see where your invoice is within that invoice approval system. So here I can see this invoice is within, has been approved here by Greg and is in kind of the workflow, and who else still has to approve that invoice. And you can kind of see where it is, when it's been approved, who still has to approve it. That is one feature that when I was in Lawson, I would have loved to have had some of these things. So
Yeah, and Melissa, I also love that, hey, something needs to get approved and I can just email right at the top and say, email all my approvers. So I can say, hey, can we get this going? Vendors calling me up, they want to get paid. So I think that's a really cool function as well.
yeah.
Yeah. Or just being able to email the invoice around. Sometimes you have a question for the vendor or whatever, there's lots of ways you can get to this. It's just so easy to tap through and see where things are.
Yeah. Another cool feature on here is the documentation tab. It's very easy to add documents, attach documents. So from a perspective of just being able to add an invoice, add a vendor attachment to something, you have that ability within the invoice, and everything just lives on your invoice now. So no having to go back and forth between different AP 20, AP 30.3, all these different screens that you had to do in Lawson.
You got
We
a
have a
clap for that
question.
one. I was just
saw a
a kid
hand
clapping. I think it was more of a clap.
Oh, is it clap? Oh, yeah.
So definitely being able to get around and do the, to be able to see. And you can also, just to throw it out there, like now in Lawson, if you went to AP 20 and you had released that invoice already, you could no longer, the only place you could go see it was like in an AP 90 screen and drill around to it. You can come back to the quote unquote AP 20 screen, this invoice entry screen, and see a released invoice and see all of these tabs there. You don't have to go and drill around endlessly to get to stuff.
Yes.
So what else? Yep. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
So, well, I've also heard there's some major improvements on upload wizards. What is an upload wizard? Can you show me how that's been improved?
Yeah. So Upload Wizard has a lot of, what I got here. Let's see if you guys can see this. So the Upload Wizard has a lot of functionalities now, which the current world FSM, it's called an ISD, Infor Spreadsheet Designer. There's a lot that you can do. It's a very powerful tool now. Probably multiple sessions to kind of go through as much as this would probably do for you. But one thing that I loved going in here that I thought was amazing was being able to, and I have a quick kind of query here that I was working, is being able to query something out. So I have a quick kind of query from the payables invoice here that you can set up. It allows you to add different fields in here, but you can query something out now. And then straight from here, what it does is it creates your headers, which now you can essentially go in and create an ISD directly from here. So I've queried something out. And if I now want to make an update to one of these fields, oh, my Excel's not going to cooperate.
Yeah, and just to throw it out there too, the query, you could see the query was built into the Excel spreadsheet. Before, when we're using add-ins, we had to open up an Excel spreadsheet, get a blank tab, go find the add-in that was the query that you were looking for. And now you can save this out there and save the query to be used over and over again, as well as the upload. So, yeah, and I think you're going to insert and upload. Is that what you're doing?
I'm going to insert and upload. My Excel is.
It timed out on you.
Yeah, I've been having Excel issues.
Yeah, no worries. But there she is. You just have to select like a product line like we do before, LS apps or whatever it might be. And yeah.
And then whatever table you are. So I had queried payables, invoice. And
I love that it just starts bringing them up. You don't have to go hunt through a table and find the
Yes.
table anymore. So.
And you have a lot more options as far as actions that you want to do, not just add or change like you currently do in Lawson. There's a lot of other options. You can cancel and release, you can change, you can add. Here, I'm just going to say maybe that I want to update something. I'm going to update an unreleased as my action.
What I love too, Melissa, in there is that you can actually go and release invoices. So if you wanted to go and use an upload wizard to do a release or add a document, or before we just had add, change, delete. That's all we could do. Add, change,
Yes,
delete.
there's a lot more functionalities that you can do from here. Which
anything you can do in the form, you can do in the upload now.
Yeah. So what this does is it's identified based on my headers in my Excel what fields I've already populated, and it's already mapped them for me. So if I've created a query or I have my headers already established, it says I already know what I want to do and I can insert my upload. So being able to query something and easily create an upload is, in my eyes, amazing. You can make changes, add additional fields. There's a lot that you can do with ISD now that wasn't as easy in Lawson, that now the end user can do, which a lot of this in my world, I used to have to go to IT and ask for queries to be built for me or assistance with uploads to be built because they weren't very easy and user friendly to build yourself.
Yeah. And again,
Melissa and Greg, we do have a question that came in on ISD. Can you add a document to an ISD?
You can, if you know that if you have like a nomenclature of the document or the document name, you can put the path and there's an action to upload documents. So you can do that. Yes. So if you have a bunch of documents saved in a shared drive that you want to upload, you can certainly just use that ISD to upload those documents. But you do have to have a naming convention to figure out what it is, so you can put a formula in your Excel spreadsheet, or you're keying in the names of the PDFs that might be out there. I think also just to point out that, remember, like this, I have a query and an upload saved inside the spreadsheet. If this is saved and Melissa opens it again, it'll be in there, so you can use it again. It's part of the spreadsheet. And if someone by accident adds a column in there, it's okay. You hit the little reset mapping thing at the bottom and it maps all your columns. I know, and when I was doing any Infor add-ins, someone would add a column in the middle of the spreadsheet and you're like, oh, now I've got to go and remap every single column in the spreadsheet in there. It was
so if somebody added something here and was working on a formula, you don't have to remap everything. You just have to hit reset mapping now, and now it will remap. It'll ignore this column G because that's not an active field name here. And so now it's remapped column H here for me. If I can find it in my, to show you that it did do that. So now it's remapped bank transaction code to column H. So it's as simple as just hitting reset mapping.
I think that's amazing to do that.
Yes.
That's terrific. Okay, so Let's maybe move into invoice maintenance and those enhancements. So not being a former Lawson user, when I hear everybody talking about it, it's AP 90, AP 30, AP 20. I have no idea what that means. Is that naming convention, and is that still used inside FSM?
It is not. So all of the forms, all of the form numbers have gone away. You no longer have to remember all of those. I actually have forgotten most of those screens. I have to consciously think about what those are sometimes now. Can't say that I miss it. Going to manage invoices now on the AP side, really all of those screens they've moved those into one location to make it a lot easier for users to just go to your manage invoices. That on the AP side of the house, that's essentially what all of those AP screens were. AP 90, AP 30.3, AP 20, all of those screens were your manage invoices screens essentially. So you were going to search for something, your AP agings, your paid invoices, your released invoices, making adjustments to a line. Those all lived in all those various screens, and they've moved them to one central. Go ahead, Greg.
No, I was going to say, and I love too that in here when she's searching for it, you no longer, like in an AP 90 screen, you needed to know company, or you needed to know the pay group, you needed to know the vendor. Now you can just put in you don't have to put in all of the fields. You can search for just a keyword even, or, hey, I've got a vendor on the phone and they say invoice number, and you just type in the invoice number. And there might be several vendors out there with that invoice number. And then you're like, who are you? And then you can, so it's so much easier to search. AP 90, 95, 91, all those, bye-bye.
And Infor has created these kind of search invoices screens here where they've said, if you want to search by company vendor, they've created a kind of a tab in here that says, here's that combination, or you want to just do by invoice number. Kind of, there's a screen here that allows you to do that by amount. So if you're on the phone with somebody and you only have a select kind of subset of information, they already have these screens available for you that'll allow your searching to be a little bit quicker in these screens and allow you to only enter that information. So they've set up a lot of different ways for you to search for information, to quickly access your paid invoices, your invoices on hold. All of your information is available here.
Yeah. Can I throw something about the on hold? On
Yeah.
hold, we used to not use it in Lawson because going to AP 40 was a pain in the butt. And, you had to go out there and find an invoice, put it on hold. You had to do the function code, select the hold code, hit change, page down endlessly to find that invoice number. Now you can just put them on hold. You can just right click on an invoice and say, put it on hold.
Yeah.
And it puts it on hold.
So if I'm in a release queue and I want this invoice to be on hold, I can just select it and put invoice on hold. And it's as simple as that. In the new world, I can pick a hold code and my invoice is on hold. And I've quickly done that.
Yeah, and now you don't have to run an AP 240 to find out whether it's on hold or not. You just click on the on hold list over there and you'll see it there.
So as not a former Lawson user, this feels like it has a lot of just kind of common sense that if you think about what you want to achieve, you can find it. I assume that could really help with onboarding new employees and training. Can you guys talk about what you see from just an ease of use perspective, and specifically as compared to when you brought someone new into the Lawson system, getting them on board versus something like this?
Outside of needing the Rosetta Stone to find out all the form numbers, sure, go for it.
Yeah. So, well, in Lawson, it was very much, you needed to know a form, you needed to know where to go, how to kind of, I needed to know I needed to go to AP 20. I needed, if I needed to look up a check, I needed to know where I need to go, specific form. In here, you just need to know, what are you looking for? So, what exactly are you looking for? So the ease of training, and they've designed it in a way that you can go to multiple places to get to the same information. So that and trying to train somebody and kind of go through things, there's not just one location, but there's multiple ways in which you can find the information that you're looking for, which I think for some users, if you're in one location or you can drill around from certain locations, it makes it easier that you're not having to stop in one location and move to another form, and you can just drill around and get to the information from where you are, which I think is the benefit of training, one, and two, ease of use when you're doing something. You don't have to stop what you're doing and move somewhere else. So I think that's a big benefit in training and allowing
Right.
users to kind of understand what they're looking for and why they're looking for it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think, and also just to throw out there, like, not having to run a report for everything. So if I wanted to know what my open AP is, I'd have to run an AP 230, do my aging. Now you can just click on invoice aging and it's there. And then if I
It's
want to know
real
more about the
time.
invoice, it's real time, and you can click on an invoice there and see, I want to know, as I was talking about, like AP 20, you can just double click on any one of those and find more information about it. It's open. Why is it open? Is it on hold? Is the due date wrong? Is the payment wrong? Whatever. You can find it right here, double click, and boom, you're in it.
Yeah.
Well,
Today you have to extract a report, go back and search for it, and figure out kind of that detail. Has it moved since you ran it? So having a real-time report and being able to access that information is a lot more beneficial. You can make updates accordingly, process. So it's a lot easier to manage things this way.
Yeah.
well, that's a great segue. So I understand there's another area in Lawson that is a little clunky, to put it mildly, and that's payment processing.
Oh, yeah.
How has FSM solved that? Oop, but I think we have a question first about invoice.
Yeah.
Hold on. Can
Can
you
you
download the
download it?
aging?
Yeah.
You
Uh,
can. So, well, I would say in an instance like this, you can, but would you want to? So I just named all the benefits of why having something like the aging in real time would be beneficial. So you can click around and you can make corrections, but absolutely all of the list views within FSM you can download. So the ellipses right over here. So any screen like this, we call a list view. You can go ahead and click on the ellipses over here, options, and export to CSV or PDF if you'd like. And you have the ability to go ahead and export this. It does default to 5,000. You can change your limit size here. I'm not going to at the moment here, but you can export it to CSV. And it instantly will export for you.
Voila.
So this is the current aging we had, and in a matter of seconds, you have that aging or whatever list view file you were looking at, and you can export it into CSV file.
And you could have even filtered that, aging report and said, you know what, I'm only interested in a particular vendor. And you could have filtered for that and then exported it. So yeah, easy.
Terrific. Great question.
Payments. So that's where we're going to
Yeah,
payments.
so other much easier items I've understand. So around payment process and processing.
I would say probably if we could do a show of hands out there, everybody would say they hate the payment process in Lawson. There's too many steps, right?
So the enhancement on payments is one of my favorites. This is one that I wish I had. So I actually was in the middle of a check run on another customer here. So I can show this. So the check run process now in FSM is probably one of my favorite features that has been enhanced that I can say that I love. So I currently ran what probably would be equivalent to an AP 150, I'll say, because everything here is different now. So I've run essentially cash requirements in this environment. And one thing I love about this is you don't have to run your AP 150 in non-update mode and then update mode and then run all your subsequent jobs after. So right now you're going to run one kind of cash requirements, and then you have the ability to review it. You can reset your parameters, but you're running it once, reviewing it, and then you can submit it. So a lot easier. You don't have to run all of those additional jobs, but when you do run it now, what happens is this will appear once you enter your parameters. And what happens here is it shows you the parameters that you've run. And then the additional tabs here now will show you what vendors have been selected. And this allows you to enter, click on a vendor. It'll show you all the invoices associated with it. The third tab here will show you all the invoices that will be included in that check run that you've selected. And then how many actual scheduled payments are set to go out the door. And then your last tab here, which a lot of people like, are the grand total of everything. So how much is going to be paid out per vendor, and then your grand total of your payment.
Yeah, you know what else is cool too in here? Normally, as an AP processor, you would run your payment process and you would export the PDF, the AP 150 to a PDF and save it on a share drive because we need to save it. They save forever. So I don't know if you can show them the history ones out there, but it saves them. You don't have to save them anymore. There, it shows you what the check run was, everything out there. So you get that historical tag.
Current jobs that are still being worked, and then as they go and process for payment, they run into historical status and they will live here. And the historical data will show the same information I just reviewed. So that's essentially all your cash requirements jobs that a lot of people will save out for auditing purposes. So I know I used to have to save them all in a file on our share drive so that when the auditors came in, they wanted to know what was included in that check run and they wanted proof that it went out the door. It's nice now you don't have to save those. The system saves them historically for you.
But it gets better, right?
It gets better.
But there's
It
more.
does. There's more. Okay, so on here, you do have that ability, like I said, to reset your parameters. And then if you're confident and you've went through a check run and you're ready to go, you can go ahead and hit complete payment cycle. And what this does when you hit this button is it runs all your jobs for you, even your payment close. And if you click this button right here, it includes your positive pay file for you too. And you just hit submit.
Melissa, while that's running, we have a question that came in. If you have linked invoice images to your invoices, can you access them from your cash requirements report?
Yes.
Yes.
You can. She can go into those invoices right there and just double click on them.
And double click on them. I can click on this invoice. Once again, pretty much in every screen, you can get back to something. So again, kind of that joy of not having to get to another form essentially, but click on it. So I just clicked on that image and the documentation tab still lives. So again, we're back at that main screen.
And there's some additional functions that we can show too at another, but there's a dynamic link on the right-hand side where she can click if there was attachments, her help on the very top there to show I can see related documents to it. So if she clicks that out, it would have, if it had an invoice attached to there, you would see the PDF right in that spot there. This one happened to not have a PDF, but you can see it quickly without even going anywhere and see it right there.
That's amazing. And then how about third-party print solutions? Is there a change?
So my check run is done. So good kind of segue. So while we were talking, the checks have kind of gone and they're done. So no third party kind of system is needed anymore. So FSM now can also not only do your check run for you without running all those jobs, but it can also produce the check image and print for you. So I can just kind of go through here and show you that check that we just kind of went through has produced. And if we had it set to automatically print, they would have automatically printed out your printer for you. But we can just kind of view what a check image may look like if you had it set up, and you can kind of establish, depending on your prints, whatever your check template looks like, we can have that kind of set up for you, but your checks would automatically print to your printer for you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Melissa, we have a couple more questions that have come in. If you have multiple cash accounts, can you run only one job, or do you have to run cash requirements for each of them?
Well, you could have multiple check runs running if they're different pay groups.
But if you have multiple accounts in one pay group, you can run them all at the same time.
All at the same time. And you can also run your checks and your ACHs and all of that all in one check run.
Yep.
Can you FTP your ACH file to the bank? That's another question that has come in.
Absolutely. So you can create within the system. I think I might have an example in here. You can have it set up to produce the Nacha file as well. So within here, if you run an ACH, it wants to cooperate. I've been having trouble in this environment downloading though. It does produce the Nacha file in here, and it will automatically send it out to the bank for you, as well as your positive pay files.
You just have to whitelist the bank and Infor to say, yeah, I accept files from here. That's all you have to do. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Okay, well, that even makes sense for me as a non-AP person, so it's great, very user-friendly. Let's see, before we move on, I think
we have another question.
have
What is the
another question
vendor
coming.
format?
What is the vendor format for the remittance advice? Does it go out automatically?
Can I just say, if you can use Word, Microsoft Word, you get to design your own remittance information. So,
So, yep. So there is a standard out of the box, but you can also kind of format it the way that you would like.
Okay, well, another great segue around out of the box.
And they do go out automatically. That was the other part of that question. So if they have an email address, it will automatically get sent to them. If you have 10 people that need to get it, you can put 10 different email addresses in there. You're not limited to a field and you have to put commas between the email addresses. You can just add them into your contacts and say, send the e-remit to these people. So it is much more robust from that. And you can even customize the email that gets sent to them to show them information. And I just wanted to throw one other thing. How many of us have people that we're still writing physical checks for, and we'd love to get them on the ACH wagon? You can actually send out the check's been processed and it's in the mail, email to them with a link. If you wanted to put it on there and says, hey, get on the ACH wagon, contact us and we'll stop sending you checks and start sending you ACHs. So a really good way to get people on the ACH wagon. ACHs are cheap. An AP check is expensive. It's upward of over $2 a check.
Great.
What else you got, Ashley?
Okay, well, I thought maybe now we are going to move into reporting, kind of to wrap it up. So looking at everything at different levels. So it sounds like there's a lot of built-in functionality that Infor has thought about how people are going to use AP, and different functions they're going to want to do. Can you show us an area where maybe you can see the out-of-the-box reports and just how robust those really are?
Sure. So a feature now within FSM is this report catalog.
I remember, you never knew what reports were out there. If you didn't know the form number,
you didn't know it was there. So one nice thing now is you don't need to know the report necessarily. So you have the ability to go into report option and say, okay, I'm payables. What reports are available for payables? What reports are available if I just am worried about invoice? Not to say these are the only reports available, because there's a lot of options. There's a lot of ability to go out and do list views and other things that you may want. But here are just some out of the box available ones under payments. Here are some that are out there for you. So just to know, here's a starting point for some reporting options. So again, in Lawson, I didn't know some of these reports even existed. So if somebody didn't tell me, hey, go to AP, 230, I wouldn't have known to go there to run a report. So now you have the ability to go here and say, let me look at this. Maybe this will give me something I want to know. Without
and they're in plain English.
Yes. What does that report do? Oh, it'll tell me this. So just having this feature there and having the ability to know that, you also have the ability to create some reports and throw them out here, either for yourself or publicly. So there's a lot of options available that necessarily weren't there or you just didn't know were there before.
And then I think I've heard you all talk about 1099s. Is there something, I guess that would be considered a report? I don't know if that's in the right, but always seems to amaze people when I hear you all sharing that. Would you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the change on 1099 processing is pretty similar to our check processing. You can issue the 1099s now directly out of FSM as well without using a third party, which is a huge benefit.
You don't need a third party. Yeah, they're just out of the box now. Yeah.
Out of the box now. So directly out of FSM.
You can email it to them and print it, so there you have to print and send, but then you can also have email copies of it sent to them as well. So a lot of options in there now. And it gets updated instead of that end of year patch. We got to make sure that end of year patch gets in there for, you just simply click update on the 1099 form and it brings in the latest form.
Brings it in.
Yeah, no more waiting on IT to load the patch for the year-end patches.
Or having to go get any forms.
No pre-printed forms.
Can you file with federal from FSM2 for 1099s? Can you file the file for the IRS?
Okay, to create the actual.
To create it? Yes.
Yeah, it creates and you can send it through upload it to the IRS website.
Mm-hmm.
Got a thumbs up.
Yay, thumbs up. Well, I just want to say we're getting close to the end of our time here. And I know we just absolutely scratched the surface with functionality, the improvements, the enhancements, and it seems like there's a lot more there. I guess maybe as a user, somebody who's thinking about making the move, or even maybe if you're already on it and just continuing to try to utilize the software to its fullest extent, how challenging is this to get your AP department up and running, right? Change management, it's not an easy thing, but what's your experience been, Melissa and Greg, with getting folks up and running on FSM?
You want me to go?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I find that once I get the users to, getting past form numbers, because we love our form numbers if you're an old Lawson user, but the new users really just jump right into this. It's we're getting people that are really just adopting the system. Even before we're live, we're like, they're starting to use the system. It's like, oh, I can just go look up an invoice. We converted a bunch of them and start to use the system. It's just so much easier to use and so much more intuitive. The training is small for it. The user adoption is high. I think that's the two things I can describe it. So
Well,
yeah. I mean, it's not, you don't have to, the changes and the new functionalities, you don't have to start with them. You can say, hey, we're going to implement our system and then add these things on, add approvals built into the system, add imaging into the system.
I know in some of our implementations, I've actually had some going from V10 to Lawson that have said, you're taking away some of my work. It's too easy now after they've gotten used to it, because once they've gotten out of their old way and kind of moved over, they've realized how easy the system is to use. And they've almost gotten to the point where they feel like they're forgetting a step or not doing something they should be doing, because it is a lot less clunky of a system to use, and they kind of adapt to it. And once they get past that, it doesn't feel normal stage, they really do kind of flow a lot easier through the system, and it works really well for them after they're up and running.
Yeah, I think they spend more time now reviewing than they do actually entering. So the data entry goes down so much, and that you have time to review, time to process.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So I guess we have just a few minutes left. I want to open up the floor. Are there any outstanding questions? Anything that you want to put in the chat right now? Of course, I'll just remind everyone, we're going to go ahead and send this link out to you later today. And so you'll get that if you are thinking, if this is triggered, maybe a challenge or a problem, whether it's in AP or anywhere inside finance or supply chain, you can always reply back, and we can work on those with you together. Hey, but I think
so
we do
have
have
a couple
question.
of questions.
Great.
Yeah.
I
Can
love
you
it.
touch briefly on vendor maintenance?
No more AP10. I don't know if you want to share a screen, Melissa, but the AP screen is the vendor screen. You can now even attach their W-9 information to the actual vendor, so you don't have to store it on a shared drive anymore. You can, the list view, I think, is a great one, just to show them the list view of vendors rather than endlessly hitting next. And maybe even the search function, just to show them how easy it is to search.
Yeah, so manage vendors now lives within here. Everything's in a list view. Let's kind of go through here. Another thing, so Greg's talking about attachments. Great feature in here to add your W-9s, ACH forms, things like that.
Certifications, whatever, yeah.
Yep. Another great thing on your vendor tab itself within vendor maintenance, you can also get to your invoice and payments, which is a great feature. Once again, you don't have to go to multiple screens to find what you're looking for. So even within your vendor maintenance screen, you can locate all the invoices and payments associated to a vendor. So again, something you don't have to go back and forth within. There's a lot of different availability on the vendor list screen too. If you want to search by vendor classes, by, are you missing a tax ID for a vendor? Are you missing, you can search for all of that within this list view here.
Yeah,
So
and just to point out there at the list view at the very top there, you can just type in a piece of a name there. It's just, you don't, the filtering here, search in Lawson is painful. We all know that, but now you just type in, there so you're done. That's how. Yeah.
So can you secure the vendor tax ID and only allow specific users to view and maintain it?
You can mask. There's a masking feature for the bank and for the tax account.
Another question that came in was, what's the easiest way to multi-tab? I think this is about the duplicate tab.
Oh, so there's a couple ways. One way is to just hit duplicate up here. But I prefer to, if I am on manage vendors, and let's say I want to open a manage invoice screen, you can also click here and do open link in new tab, and it'll open up another tab as well, but it tells you what this tab is for. So now it says manage invoices. So you could have a manage invoice tab open, a manage vendors tab open, so you know what your tabs are.
We have one other question that came in about approvals. What happens when an approver is out of the office? Are you able to set up an ad hoc approver?
You can even reassign the approver too. So I don't know if you want to go to that one that it was due to be approved by Mandy, I think.
So everything lives in this pending approval, which your AP manager can view. So you can kind of keep track of things like this too.
And there's a reassign button at the top, reassign the approver. So you could do that right from there. And if you have access, you could even force approval here too. So, hey, I got an email from, Mandy. She's on the beach on vacation, and she said, yeah, go ahead and approve that. I could attach that email to the invoice and do a manual approval if that's allowed. In certain environments of a SOX compliance, that might not fly. So you might not give them the manual approved.
So right now it tells you the order, and then it tells you who it's currently sitting with. So you can bypass this approver and kind of move on. You also know that based on this. So where it's at. So if you want to skip level 2, you can move right to your level 3 approver if you need to skip.
Can the approver set up their own alternate approver?
Like through proxy?
Yes, proxy.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do proxy users as well, and they can set up their own proxies if you give them the security access to do it.
Well, listen, that's great. That takes us just a minute beyond where we promised. So thank you so much. I just want to, for the whole GForce team, I want to say thank you so much for your time and being so engaged in this meeting. We will be sending the link out for the meeting. And again, I'll just say, if you go back and you start thinking, if there's some challenges, some problems, some things you want to work through or talk through, we are here to help. You can reach out to us. We have contact information on the screen. Obviously, in the email that we send, you'll have contact information as well. But we really love working with people. And I just want to highlight, I don't know how many folks, when they talk about software, Melissa used the word joy, amazing, love, favorite. That's how you should feel when you're doing this. You should actually be really excited about it. So if you're not feeling
awesome.
that, let us know. You should be. Thank you again. Have a wonderful Wednesday. We will be doing another webinar in a quarter, so watch out for that invite. We'll be sending that out. If you have a topic that you would like us to cover, we always are looking for feedback. So if there are things that would really be interesting or relevant to you, let us know. We love hearing from you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the week.